Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 28th of April and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis. So guys, in the today's video we are going to discuss the entire Hindu newspaper analysis, and before that, first of all, let's see the overview of the newspaper to understand that which articles will be important in the today's newspaper. And guys, in order, if you want the explainer PDF, you can download from the Telegram channel. The link for the Telegram channel is given in the description box. Now, first of all, let's see the overview of the newspaper. Now guys, understand that all the articles will not be relevant for the CSE examination. You need to only see only those articles which are actually important for our examination. Now, the page number 1. So here we can see that much of the articles are not important. In this particular article, the Prime Minister has provided this particular thing, that though the center government has reduced the excise on the petrol and diesel, the state governments are not reducing the VAT onto the petrol and diesel. And because the state governments are not reducing it, the petrol and diesel prices are still very much high, particularly into the opposition ruled states. So this is a statement that has been made by the Prime Minister. Now guys, on this particular thing, many of the state governments, they became frustrated. They say that our revenue streams have been dried up, center has to give a lot of money to the state, the center owes a lot of money to the state, so without giving that money we cannot reduce the VAT. It has been said that it is nothing but a politics that is being done. So that is just about it. You don't need to go in detail in this particular article. Then guys, Delhi should be under the center's control. So basically it has been provided that the basically guys, the Delhi government, it has filed a petition in the Supreme Court, and the petition is about this particular fact that many kind of acts have been brought by the center government. For example, GNCT Act, Government of National Capital Territory Act, under which basically a lot of power has been given to the Lieutenant Governor of the Delhi. So the government of Delhi feels that such kind of thing is unconstitutional. So guys, in this development only, the center government had said that the national capitals, okay, around the world, they are under the control of center. Even the city of London, it has a lot of control by the central government. So in such way, Delhi should be under the control of central government. So guys, this particular article as well as this particular article, both of these particular articles shows that how the fiscal disputes are increasing. Okay, how the fiscal confrontation how the federal disputes are increasing, how a confrontational federalism or combative federalism is coming. We can see this particular thing. Then guys, further moving on, after that into the regional section, the advertisements etc, regional news etc has been given, not at all important for your examination. Moving on guys, after that we reach to the editorial page. On the editorial page, building back toward a learning catastrophe. So this is good article, as how the basically because the schools have been closed, it is impacting the learning. Then the hard truth from the rubble of communal conflagration. So guys, it talks about that how the BJP, okay, and how the right wing politics is leading to the crisis. So how after the Babri Masjid demolition, Babri Masjid, a lot of demolitions happened, now they have happened. So such kind of thing. With respect to exam, substance is not there in this article. Clear? Then guys, after this particular thing also, okay, preventing harm. So basically it talks about that how inflammatory speeches are needed to be stopped, okay, and how they are problematic. Internal election is into the Congress and the BJP, not important article for the examination. Energy independence through hydrogen. So this article is important, we are going to see. Social dialogue for safe workplaces, very very good article. With respect to the labor issues in GS paper number 3, we are going to see this particular article. Then in the text and the context, Indonesia's palm oil export ban has been discussed, so we'll see that how it will impact India. Then at the end of the road for the future group. Okay, so guys, basically the future groups take over by the Reliance, Amazon and all those things are there. So it is a kind of a corporate dispute that is there. With respect to UPSC, much important thing is not there. A look at child and adolescent healthcare system, so we'll see this article. Then the birth death reporting to be automated, good article. With respect to the population issues in GS paper number 1, we'll see this. Labor codes to be rolled out soon. So guys, basically when we talk about the labor, labor happens to be in the concurrent list. Labor happens to be into the concurrent list. Also, there are certain entries with respect to the labor in the state list also. Today, on the subject of labor, there are multiple laws that are there, and because of that, in India, the labor reforms, because of that particular thing, the ease of doing business gets impacted. So, guys, in order to simplify the labor bills, government earlier decided that the labor codes will be the labor laws will be merged in four labor codes. The labor bills will be merged into the four labor codes. Now, when these four labor codes have been made, when they will be implemented, when they will be rolled out, fine, on that thing this article is there. So government had said that it will be rolled out soon. No date has been given. So apart from that, there is nothing in this particular direction. So guys, when we talk about the four labor codes, so these are the codes on, they are the code on wages, social security, occupational safety, and industrial relation. Okay, so these are the four codes. Apart from this, nothing is there in this particular article. Plan for 4G upgrade in LWE areas, we'll see this particular thing. Then guys, this particular article contains political news. Nothing in such kind of direction is there. Then guys, further moving on, here we can see that HAL begins airframe fatigue test on light combat aircraft. So see, what is this airframe fatigue test? Just one liner concept. So guys, suppose this is an airplane. Okay, now the structure of this particular airplane, whether it is suitable to fly in high altitudes or not, so we test this particular thing. So every airplane is having particular life. For example, let's say that the airplane's life is 10 years, so its frame should be able to afford the fatigue for at least 40 years, or the 4 times of the life. So for the light combat aircraft, LCA, light combat aircraft that has been made by HAL, they are testing its airframe fatigue. It will take next 8 to 10 years to test that particular thing. So that is all about it. Much important thing with respect to UPSC is not there. Then guys, after that, moving on, Russia stops gas supply to NATO. So this Russia-Ukraine crisis is going on. Sri Lanka, big businesses mount pressure on government. Not at all, guys. These articles are important for your exam. These are just the tiny developments which will happen every day with respect to the long-term horizon. Much importance is not there. So guys, on to the business page also. Business page also, the corporate news, etc. have been given. So that is all about the overview of the today's newspaper. And guys, let's discuss all these articles one by one in the detail. Now, taking up the first article, before taking up the first article, let's take the GS quote for today. So today we'll take the quote from the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of the Indian Constitution, he says that indifferentism is the worst kind of disease that can affect people. Indifferentism, a kind of an apathy, it is the worst disease. Okay, and we need to strive for the effort that how this apathy can be removed, and in its place empathy and compassion should be incorporated in our characters. So that is all guys about this GS quote. And now let's take the first article. So guys, the first article, it is the Indonesia's palm oil export ban, and how the Indonesia's palm oil export ban will be impacted the India and Indian food security. This particular article will be important with respect to the GS paper number 3, the impact on Indian economy, as well as it will also be important in the GS paper number 2, the food security of India, nutritional security of India. Now guys, understand that, see, basically palm oil. So palm oil is a kind of a vegetable oil which is derived from the palm tree. So these are the palm trees. In the picture you can see they have orange colored fruits. Okay, from that this particular oil is extracted, palm oil. Now palm oil has a lot of usages. It has usages in cosmetics, into the food, okay, in cosmetics, in food, in many of other kind of things also. Fine, it has a lot of usage. Now guys, when we talk about the palm oil, it is consumed by India as well as many other countries as well. Now Indonesia happens to be the world's largest exporter of the palm oil as well as world's largest manufacturer of the palm oil. Now India also imports a lot of palm oil from the Indonesia. Apart from Indonesia, we import the palm oil from one another country, that is the Malaysia. Now guys, what has happened? The Indonesia has decided that they will ban the export of the palm oil. Now, why they are first of all banning the palm oil's export, we need to see the reasons, and then we'll see that how it will be impacting India. So guys, there are the multiple reasons. Reason number one is there that what had happened, basically there is the domestic shortage of the cooking oil in the Indonesia, and because there is a domestic shortage of the cooking oil in the Indonesia, now they will be consuming the palm oil domestically. Okay, now as they were exporting the palm oil, what happened in their internal markets, the palm oil's price, it got increased, so that into their internal markets the price is reduced, the import has been banned. Second thing is that guys, what has happened, there is the short supply of other alternative vegetable oils also. For example, sunflower oil, soya bean oil, they can also be used for cooking purpose, but these alternative oils, there is also a short supply. Why? Because of the lower than expected output that has been there in these countries. Moreover guys, there is also a lower output in another country, that is Malaysia. Now understand this thing, that Malaysia is also a very big producer of the palm oil as well as the producer of other alternative oils. So into the Malaysia also there has been very less production, and because of that the global supply of the palm oil has got impacted, and in Indonesia price rise has been there. Moreover guys, because of the pandemic there has also been the labor shortages in the Indonesia, and because of the labor shortages they were not able to grow palm onto the palm oil plantations, and because of that also the supply has been reduced. Then guys, due to the global food inflation that has been increased because of the global uncertainty that has come because of the Russia Ukraine war, because of that particular thing also in general the oil prices have increased. Moreover guys, the Ukraine crisis was also leading, bringing a challenge in this particular direction. How Ukraine crisis is bringing a challenge, I will tell you this particular thing in just 1 or 2 minutes. So guys, this is something that is going on. Now when we talk about the oil palm, it is cheap, it has a lot of utility, it is a versatile kind of oil, but there are certain problems also associated with oil palm industry in general. There have been reports from many years that this particular industry is unsustainable, it is adopting unsustainable production practices. Number one, it has been seen that in the Indonesia as well as Malaysia, large amounts of forests they have been cleared, and there the oil palm plantations have been carried. Moreover guys, basically the planting practices they also impact the fertility of the soil. Moreover, the labors that are used into the oil palm oil plantations, they are also not given the dignified wages, so it has been unsustainable industry. When we talk about the two countries, Indonesia as well as Malaysia, they account for 90% of the global palm oil production in the world, so very important countries. Now guys, when we talk about India, India happens to be the biggest importer of the palm oil, and in India 40% of the vegetable oil is the 40% of vegetable oil is the palm oil. Is it clear? Now what has happened, because the prices are increasing in India, the landing price of the palm oil, it has been increased. A 38% rise into the landed cost of the palm oil is there in India. Now guys, see, number one, Indonesia has stopped the exports of the palm. Secondly, what happens guys, apart from this there are some other vegetable oils that we use, and for that we are dependent on some another countries. For example, the sunflower oil. Now 90% of the sunflower that India is importing, 90% of the sunflower oil we are getting from the Russia and Ukraine, but from the Russia and Ukraine also there is a lot of uncertainty. From there the supplies are not coming, and because the sunflower oil supplies are not coming, our dependence onto the palm oil gets increased even more. And in this thing, when the Indonesia has banned, it might impact the food security in a large way. Moreover guys, in order to expand the palm oil production in India, last year the government has come out with a dedicated scheme also, but this particular thing will materialize in few years, so till then we need to see that what can be done. Now guys, in this particular direction India is in talk with the Indonesia also, so that India's supplies are not restricted. So that is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now this particular article again is taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it will be important in our GS paper number 1, issues related to the population. GS number 1, population related issues or the demographic issues. Now guys, first of all let's read the heading. The birth and death reporting to be automated. Birth and death reporting to be automated. Now, why this particular thing is coming first of all in the news, you need to understand the context. So the context goes like this, that you might have heard last year that many of the state governments have underreported the COVID-19 deaths. Is it clear? They have said, and there were many controversies that came in this particular direction, that deaths have been under-reported. So, guys, in order to avoid such kind of problem, this particular birth and death reporting system is being automated. Now, let's understand this particular issue in the detail, and it will be very important for your prelims examination also. So, basically, in India, what we have? In India, we have the civil registration system. Now, civil registration system, it is a system which actually records the data on birth, death, as well as stillbirth. Now, in India, we have actually the Registration of Birth and Deaths Act 1969. And according to this Registration of Birth and Death Act of 1969, it is mandatory to record all the birth and the deaths in India. And to record these birth and deaths, we have built this civil registration system. Now, the civil registration system, it is run by the Registrar General of India, and the Registrar General of India is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that actually there are the two things that are linked with each other. Please be very careful. Number one is civil registration system. Now, civil registration system is linked with the National Population Register, NPR, National Population Register. Now, what is this NPR? NPR is just the database of all the citizens who are living in India. NPR, National Population Register, is the database of the citizens living in India. So this civil registration system and the NPR, they are connected. Now, guys, see, suppose any person dies, let's say that Mr. A is there. Mr. A is living right now. So Mr. A's name is there into the National Population Register. Okay. Now, the moment Mr. A will die, what will happen? The entry of Mr. A's death will be made into the civil registration system. The moment this entry is being made here, automatically the National Population Register will get updated. Fine. Let's say under the NPR, if there are 100 people's name is there, then there will be the 99 names that will be left. Let's say, suppose another person has been born just now. Let's say let's say a child has been born and his name is B. So B has been born. The moment the B has been born, the entry is to be made into the civil registration survey, and as it is linked with the NPR, so in NPR the population will increase. Fine, we will again be coming on to 100. Okay, this is something that is there. But guys, in order to effectively gauge this particular data, we need to update the NPR as well as CRS properly. First of all, guys, when we talk about the National Population Register, this National Population Register right now, it is having the database of 119 crore residents. Okay, under this NPR, it first of all, it was created in 2010. The NPR, it was created in 2010. The data was collated in 2010. Not created, the data was collated in 2010. It got updated in 2015, where Aadhaar numbers, mobile phone numbers, ration card numbers were updated. Now, guys, in 2021, the National Population Register, NPR, was to be updated again, but it did not happen. Why? Because the updation was to be done from the census of 2021, but the census of 2021 has been postponed because of the pandemic. So the NPR has not been updated. Even the CRS, when we talk about it, the CRS also have a lot of problem. Why? Because, guys, when a person is dead or when a person is born, the entry is to be done manually, but many a times the basically proper manual entries are not being done. So even on the CRS front also, the entries are not proper, and therefore we don't have the right number about the population. Is it clear? And this is not a good thing, because, guys, for the demographic planning, for the socio-economic developmental plannings, policies, we need to have the right number about our population. So this is something that is there. Now, guys, in order to solve this particular challenge, what has happened now, the civil registration system will be civil registration system will be updated with an IT based mechanism where automatic updations will happen into the CRS with the minimal human interference. With the minimal human interference, the registrations will be done into the CRS. It will solve the problem. It will bring a timeliness, efficiency, and uniformity into the CRS. Moreover, guys, when we talk about the civil registration system, basically, I told you that the civil registration system is under the Registrar General of India, which is under the Home Ministry. Right now, the state government, they are maintaining their state level datas. Okay, the state governments, they do the entry into the civil registration system as the people who are being born, the people who are being who have been dead. Now the Registrar General of India wants to amend this Registration of Birth and Death Act of 1969. Now remember, the Registration of Birth and Death Act 1969 was the act by which the CRS was created. Now the Registrar General of India wants that a database needs to be maintained at the national level as well. So right now the data is being maintained at the state level. They want to maintain at national level so that the data discrepancy etc. is not there. So this is something, one more development that is there in this direction. Moreover, guys, understand this particular thing that when we talk about the registration of birth and death in India, the numbers have increased. Fine, and here we can see the data also. So registration level of birth has increased to 89.3% in 2018 from 81.3% in 2009, and the registration of deaths have also increased from 66.9% in 2009 to 86% in 2018. Clear? So this is, guys, all about this particular article. I hope that along with the context, background, and the entire issue, it is clear to you. And now we'll move to the next article. A look at child and adolescent healthcare. So this article is taken again from the Hindu newspaper, and this article is talking about that how the child's well-being is important for India's demographic dividend. Now, guys, understand that what this particular article is. First of all, I'll tell you. So basically, just yesterday, in fact, 27th of April, there is a report that has been released into the Lancet Health Journal. Now, Lancet is one of the most reputed health journal in the world. It comes out with the health related reports, compilations, datas, etc. So the Lancet, it has released a new series of report, and this report is optimizing child and adolescent health and development. Now under this particular report, under this series, four reports have been released, and these reports are telling that how the pandemic has impacted the children's health, their well-being, adolescents health and well-being have been impacted, and large number of fatalities also have happened, fine, because of this pandemic. Clear? Now under this particular article provides this particular thing that first of all, in the period of the pandemic, more than 8.6 million deaths have occurred between the children and adolescent, from 0 to 20 years of children, 0 to 20 years of people. 8.6 million deaths have been there. Now, guys, if such kind of thing has happened and if this trend will continue, the countries will not be able to meet the sustainable developmental goals. So basically, when we talk about the sustainable developmental goal, there is particularly the sustainable development goal number 3.2, which talks about that preventable infant deaths are needed to be reduced, neonatal mortality rate is to be reduced. What is neonatal mortality rate? The children who are being dying in first 27 days of their birth. So the children dying within first 27 days of birth, it is the neonatal mortality rate. Now this 27 days definition is given by the UNICEF. Somewhere it is mentioned 29 days also. Okay, somewhere 29 days also mentioned, but 27 is given by UNICEF. NMR, neonatal mortality rate, children dying within first 27 days. Then there is infant mortality rate, children dying within first year of their birth. Fine, and then there is a child mortality, children dying within 5 years of their birth. Okay, so we need to reduce their numbers in absolute sense. Okay, and the targets have been given, okay, to every country, and this is provided under the sustainable developmental goal 3.2. Now just 8 years are there. The sustainable developmental goals are to be reached by year 2030. Just 8 years are remaining, and before that 8.6 million deaths have occurred between the category of 0 to 20 years of children. Okay, so it calls that we need to be very careful about the child care, the adolescent care. Fine. Now, guys, basically, the authors of this particular report, the Lancet report, they have provided this particular thing that first of all, the poverty impacts the child and adolescent health in a substantial way. So, basically, the early life poverty will impact the survival, it will impact the nutrition, and it will impact the cognitive development of the child and development. When you are poor, you cannot afford the proper nutrition, you cannot afford the proper schooling, you cannot afford the basic amenities of life, and it will be impacting the entire overall well-being of a child and adolescent. After that, it has been provided that, see, in the low income countries, in the middle income countries, many of the low cost interventions have happened which actually can save large number of lives. Now when we talk about the low cost interventions, see, because of the typhoid, because of the waterborne diseases, many children are dying. Just by providing the clean water, many lives can be saved. So just providing the clean water is a low cost intervention. Clear? Fine. Many times, guys, we find this particular thing that because of the iron deficiency, many of the women, they face fatality. Just providing the iron folic tablet, okay, weekly iron folic tablet, is a low cost intervention, lives can be saved. So there are low cost interventions that are available. Many middle and in low income group countries have provided it, but still there are large number of children and adolescents who are dying because these low cost interventions are not properly deployed. Then after that, it has been provided that in the times of uncertainty, pandemic, there is a need to support the mental health. Unintentional injuries are to be reduced. Non-communicable diseases and neglected tropical diseases, okay, particularly the infectious diseases, they are needed to be focused more. Now our focus has become less because we are more concerned about the pandemic management. So these things should be focused. After that, it has been provided that we need to promote the leadership. Fine. So that we need to promote the leadership so that the initiatives can be taken for the child health and child well-being. Expert management is to be carried. Learning systems are to be re-envisaged. Fine. We need to redesign the service delivery. Fine. Service deliveries needs to be redesigned. How the food service delivery needs to be improved, how the education service can be improved. Okay, so basically all the services that are meant for the betterment of the adolescent and the childs, they are needed to be improved. We need to empower the families for the better care. Moreover, it has also been provided that a comprehensive care plan which will provide the nutrition, preventive health, education, economic support, community support, we needs to work on this particular direction. So this is, guys, all the finding of this particular report by the Lancet that has been released onto the adolescent and the child health care. That is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now this particular article is taken from the Hindu newspaper editorial section, and this article is talking about the learning catastrophe that has happened due to the pandemic of COVID-19. So because of the COVID-19, the schools were closed, and because the schools were closed, many of the children were not able to continue their education, and it has led to a learning catastrophe. Now how to avert it for the future, how to avert this learning catastrophe for future, suggestions have been provided in this particular article. Let's discuss this one by one. Now this particular article will be important for GS paper number 2, education and social justice. Okay, now let's discuss it. So basically, guys, what has happened now, the schools are finally open, okay, and we need to actually focus on the learning recovery. Because of the pandemic, the schools were closed, learning loss have happened. And when we talk about the amount of learning loss in this particular capacity, there is a joint report that was released recently. The report was released by the UNESCO, UNICEF and the World Bank, and the name of the report is The State of the Global Education Crisis, a Path to Recovery. This report was released last year 2021, and this particular report has provided that since 21 months of the pandemic, the schools around the world, in other countries, the school were closed for 224 days. In these 21 months of pandemic, for 224 days the schools were closed. But when we talk about India, in India the schools were closed for an exceptionally long duration. In India, the schools were closed for 450 to 480 days, double. Compare it with 224, our schools were closed from to 450 to 480 days. Now, moreover, it has been provided that when the third wave of COVID-19 came, again the schools got closed, and the school closure reached to 570 to 600 days. This is a very long period when the schools have been closed. Now, it is provided that, see, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, COVID-19 pandemic, it is going to stay for many more years, and we need to learn as we need to learn as how we can manage along with this COVID-19 pandemic. All the time opening the schools, closing the schools, it will not be the right approach. It is impractical, unnecessary, unscientific, as well as unethical, this open and shut mode. Moreover, around the world, there is no evidence that the children have actually got contacted with the COVID 19 within the school. It is the case that actually children are getting infected with COVID 19, but they are infected outside the school. They are infected by their parents, they are infected by some of their friends, some of their family members. That could be the case. Okay, so schools are spreading the infection. This is not correct. Moreover, it has been found that even when the schools were not opened up, then when the seroprevalence surveys were carried by the state governments, 70 to 90% of children, they already got the antibodies. They were already infected. Now, when 70 to 90% children got infected, obviously they were infected majorly by their family members. Moreover, as they got impacted and now they have antibodies, they are safe, they can return back to the schools. We don't need to worry on this particular thing. It has been provided that actually learning loss is a very big problem and it needs to be catered up. Now, as the schools are reopening, there are certain attentions, that certain focuses that we needed to shift. Number one, as the school reopening is happening, fine, we need to make sure that the education department in every state, they are seeing this particular thing, that the children have not been dropped out of the school system. Basically, the reports were coming that because of the economic miseries that have happened by the pandemic, large number of families, they have dropped their children from school and they are in making them do some child labor. So that's and because the child labor has increased, we need to make sure that the children are returning back to the school, and for that the education departments need to work. Moreover, special attention needs to be made for enrollment drive of the children from poor and backward sections, rural, urban, slum dwellers, their children. Then the next thing that has been provided is that we need to focus on learning recovery. Now, on this learning recovery, what we need to do, we need to create a plan, we need to create a strategy. The teachers, they need to consolidate the curriculum and they need to increase the teaching time, that how the learning loss that had happened, it can be recovered. Now, for this particular thing, teachers are needed to be provided training, teachers are needed to be incentivized, teachers are needed to be provided the support. Now, mentor teacher initiatives of Delhi are actually very successful. In Delhi, the teachers, basically in Delhi, the Delhi government had introduced the Desh Ke Mentor program, where some of the educated citizens, they are mentoring the students. So this program has been a success program. So mentors can also be enrolled into this particular process. After that, guys, the third suggestion that has been given is that basically the subject experts should examine the new education policy 2020 in the wake of pandemic. So under the NEP, many of the recommendations were given. So how in the pandemic those recommendations can still be implemented? Some challenges that have been there, it needs to be examined. Moreover, it is provided that on the education, we need to increase the government expenditure also. Today, around 3% of GDP equivalent expenditure is being done. Around 3% of GDP equivalent expenditure is being done on education. It was suggested that it will be increased up to 6%. It has not happened. So first of all, the allocations for the education sector are to be increased. Then, guys, the mental health issues are of the students are also needed to be taken account. It has been provided that the education and health department into the Indian states, they need to see that how the mental health of the children are getting impacted, and within the schools they need to provide the health checkup facilities for the school children. So recently, in this direction, the Delhi government has done the good work, and Delhi government had come out with a scheme of health clinics, where the health clinics were opened up into the Delhi as well, into the Delhi around the schools, and the schools were basically the schools adopted an approach of the health promoting schools, where the schools are promoting the health. This is something that can be adopted by the other state governments also. This practice could be learned by other state governments. After that, guys, it has been provided that actually the midday meal services were discontinued into the pandemic. Now they have been resumed. Around 12 crore children are there in India whose nutritional status is dependent onto the midday meals. Clear? So basically, number one, we need to make sure that the midday meals, fine, midday meals that are being provided, it is continued. Moreover, apart from the basic food that is being provided into the midday meal, supplementary nutrition should also be provided. Supplementary nutrition program is also to be instituted. Now, guys, it has been provided that basically the time has come that the time has come that we need to recognize that the COVID-19 is not impacting children into that substantial way. So therefore, now the children's, they are needed to be emphasized, they are needed to be remolded towards learning. So this is something that is provided in this particular article. Moreover, guys, this article is very good one. You can download this PDF directly from the Telegram channel. Now moving on. Independence through hydrogen. Energy independence through hydrogen. Now this particular article, it talks about the energy security of India and will be important in GS paper number 3. Now, so basically what has happened recently, the green hydrogen mission has been launched. Green hydrogen policy has been actually launched. Now first of all, let's understand some of the basic concepts. So guys, when we talk about the hydrogen, hydrogen can be a promising fuel. Hydrogen can replace the carbon emitting fuel that is there. Hydrogen can replace a lot of energy requirements. Now how we create the hydrogen? Basically, for making hydrogen, electrolysis is carried. Now what is electrolysis? Electrolysis is a process where the electricity is used to split the water, in the hydrogen and oxygen. So electricity is used to split the water in hydrogen and oxygen. This hydrogen then can be extracted and can be used for energy purposes. Now guys, basically, what is green hydrogen? So I told you that electricity is to be used. So from where this electricity is being procured, on that particular basis the hydrogen can be classified. So a green hydrogen will be the one where the electricity that has been used, it is from renewable sources. Let's say you use the solar energy for this electrolysis process, and by using the solar electricity you have now obtained the hydrogen. So this obtained hydrogen will be called as the green hydrogen. Now the government of India has recently released its green hydrogen policy. Now this green hydrogen policy will be helping in large number of fronts. For example, in COP26 that India participated in 2021, COP26, we have agreed that we will commit to the net zero emission by 2070. Net zero emission means that whatever emission that we are doing and whatever carbon we are sequestering, the balance will be zero. Now, in this particular direction, to reach this net zero, the Ministry of Power had notified the first phase of green hydrogen, green ammonia policy. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that as a part of this green hydrogen policy, what we are doing. Number one, green hydrogen production in India will be increased, and for that particular thing, there the process will be eased. Single window clearances will be given for the green hydrogen processes. For green hydrogen initiative, single window clearance will be given. Moreover, power banking of surplus unconsumed renewable power will also be looked for. See, suppose some energy is produced. Now the renewable power, it is to be banked. For that one, infrastructure is to be created. So infrastructure will be provided. Fine. Access to power markets will be provided. Okay. Then interstate grids and long term interstate power transmission charges will be waiver. So interstate transfer grids. Okay. So as the energy can be transferred from one state to another state, so the grids will be provided. The charges that are imposed when from one state it is being moved to another state, these charges will be waived off. Moreover, guys, it has also been provided that basically the storage and distribution for the ammonia, for that also there will be the facilities that will be developed onto the port, so that for the export also the arrangements can be made. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that today as we talk about the hydrogen can play a large number of roles into the futuristic energies, okay, in energy storage, okay, into the transportation sector. Hydrogen can be used for the decarbonization of Indian economy. Moreover, we have said that by 2030 we want to develop 500 gigawatt of energy from the renewable sources. 500 gigawatt of energy we need to develop from the renewable sources. Okay, now in this particular direction, basically the hydrogen can use. Moreover, today it is being said that the demand of electricity, it is going to be increased. It is provided that by 2050 electricity requirement of India will be around 110 to 130% of the present electricity generation capacity. So even into the electricity generation, the hydrogen can play an important role. But there are certain problems. Problem is that there is the high cost of hydrogen manufacturing, and also there is a water scarcity there in India, which can pose a challenge. For production of 1 kg of hydrogen by electrolysis, you need at least 9 liter of water. So water scarcity and then the less availability of the and high cost also can impact. In this particular direction, there are the strategies that have been suggested in this particular article. Number one, how to increase the demand of hydrogen. Now see, basically if the demand of hydrogen will increase, okay, the producers will get an incentive, and when the producers will get incentive and when the mass production will be there, automatically the cost will come down. So onto the demand side, number one, an initial demand is to be created. Now there are lot of industries, for example refining industries there, fertilizers industry is there, they actually has a lot of utility for the hydrogen. They are to be given incentives so that they actually include more and more hydrogen in their processes. After that, basically there are certain manufacturing industries, okay, which use the hydrogen, okay. For example, the green steel, the green cement. So when the green steel is being manufactured, when the green cement is being manufactured, they need the hydrogen in the process. So these industries can also be incentivized. Third, it has been provided that we need to compulsorily come out with the blending programs. For example, blending hydrogen with the natural gas. So let's say with the CNG, the hydrogen can be blended. So with this particular blending based programs also, the demand for the hydrogen will increase. After that, we need to promote the fuel cell electric vehicles. Okay, so fuel cell electric vehicles are the ones which actually use the fuel cell technology, and into these fuel cell the hydrogen can be used. Okay, so for the trucks, for the buses, for the commercial transport, the fuel cell electric vehicles can be used. They will be consuming the hydrogen, which will increase the demand. Then after that, carbon tariffs are needed to be introduced. Now what is this carbon tariff that we are talking about? Carbon tariffs means basically the foreign businesses that are working in India, and if they are making the products which might add the carbon on them, we need to impose the tariffs. So by that particular thing also, they will become they will become motivated to adopt the hydrogen based technologies. After that, on the supply side, in order to ensure the supply, what is to be done? Number one, research and development should be accelerated. Okay, then next it has been provided that, see, there is one scheme, that is a sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation scheme. Now this STAT scheme, that is the sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation, it is an initiative by the government of India, where the compressed biogas production plants are being set up, and they are being used for they are being this compressed natural biogas is being then offered for the use into the automotive industry. So under this particular scheme, we need to make sure that the hydrogen is also being used. So apart from compressed biogas, the hydrogen should also be used here. Moreover, viability gap funding scheme can be brought. Now what is viability gap funding? Now suppose there is a project that is going on. Now let's say the project has been completed to the 80% of the tune. Now 20% of this project is still pending, but the one who was implementing the project, let's say a private party, ABC Enterprises, the ABC Enterprises who was implementing this particular project, it has been ran short of funds, they don't have the fund. So here the viability gap funding will come in between. The government through the viability gap funding window can provide the additional support of this 20% fund that is needed. So viability gap funding can also be provided for the hydrogen production facilities. Then the hydrogen projects need to be brought under the priority sector lending. Now under the now guys, the priority sector lending means, see, when the banks are offering the loan, then there is one particular category that is the priority sector lending. Fine, around 40% of the loans are to be given to the priority sector. So the hydrogen projects can be brought into the definition of the priority sector lending. Then next thing that has been provided is that basically the electrolyzers cost and energy tariff, they are the important deciding factors, so their cost also needs to be rationalized. So that is all guys about this particular entire article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now this particular article, that is social dialogue for safe workplaces, it has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about that how we can improve the occupational safety and the health at the workplace. Now guys, first of all, there are some of the important datas, and this particular article will be important for GS paper number 2 social justice, GS paper number 2 social, just a minute, it will be important for GS paper number 2 social justice, as well it will also be important for GS paper number 3 labor reforms. Now basically it is being said that around the world 2.9 million deaths and 402 million non-fatal injuries are attributed to the occupational accidents. So let's say in the factory the workers are working, so because let's say in the factory the worker are working and there is some kind of an accident that happens, this accident is called as the occupational injury or the occupational accident. And in such kind of occupational accidents, 2.9 million deaths are being happening every year, and 402 million non-fatal injuries are happening. So workplaces are not safe. Now it has been provided that we need to make sure that the occupational safety and the health is being focused. Now we are going back from the pandemic to the pre-pandemic era, where the industrialization will be promoted, the industries will be running at full pace. So into the industries, into the factories, into the workplace, the occupational safety and health is to be promoted. Now today, 28th of April, ILO commemorates the World Day for Safety and Health at Work. So April 28 is commemorated as World Day for Safety and Health at Work. Now the occupational accidents and the occupational diseases, they cost around 5.4% of the global GDP every year. Government of India has also declared in 2009 the National Policy on Safety, Health and Environment at Workplace, and under this policy government pledged that it will promote the occupational safety as well as occupational health at the workplace. Moreover, in this particular direction, Government of India also come out with the National Occupational Safety Health Profile in 2018. Now this National OSH profile, occupational safety health profile, it contained all the occupational safety and health related information that was there. But guys, still the occupational safety of the India's informal sector workers is not being taken very seriously. Presently 90% of the workers, presently 90% of the India's workers, they are into the informal sector and their occupational safety is not a concern. Now guys, after that it has been provided, see, that at the national level, when we basically we need to work on this particular direction at two levels, at the national level as well as at the state level. Number one, at the national level, government needs to include all the relevant ministries, fine, which are interacting with the workers in some direct or indirect capacity, and all the ministries, they need to ensure that the workers safety and health are being prioritized as a national agenda. Clear? Even guys, the government is actually hiring large number of workers on contract, so their health, fine, while they are working for the government, needs to be it needs to be preserved. Then after the state level, basically three types of actors: the workers, the employers as well as the government need to come together. Particularly the bilateral discussions need to be there between the employer and between the employees, workers. So employers need to educate the workers that what are the occupational hazards that could be there. For example, when a person is working into the stone quarry, okay, so with the dust that they are inhaling, there can be the lung diseases that could be there. So this is a kind of an occupational health hazard that is there. So such kind of things are needed to be made aware. So basically it has been provided that there is a need of a social dialogue. Social dialogue means a dialogue is to be carried with the workers by the employers, that how their health can get impacted and how they need to take precautions, how need they need to take the safeguards. Now India has some very good case studies also. Now guys, these case studies are very important. Three case studies are given in this particular article. Case study number 1 is of Uttar Pradesh. So Uttar Pradesh, what it has done, Uttar Pradesh has cooperated with the employers and workers. A kind of a workshop was carried on to the occupational safety and health. Now in this particular workshop, the workers working into the metal industry and the garment home based and into the garment industry, the workers, they were educated that how their health can get impacted. After that, the next thing that has been provided is that the Kerala government had recently applied the ILO, International Labour Organization's participatory OSH training methodologies. Now ILO had recommended certain occupational safety and health methodologies that should be adopted, and it has been done into the Kerala. Then the government of Rajasthan. So government of Rajasthan has generated the awareness in the workers who are working in the stone processing units. Fine. So the stone processing units, by the dust inhalation, there are the lung diseases that could be infected by these workers. So they are being made aware. So guys, this is some good case studies of Uttar Pradesh, Kerala and Rajasthan that could be used in your answers also. Moreover guys, certain other things also we need to have. Number 1, we need to have a robust occupational accident and disease reporting system. Suppose a worker got let's say a worker got involved in some accident, let's say our worker got some injury, some health hazard in some of a unit. So such things are needed to be reported, so that by that particular reporting mechanism, the worker could be given some compensation, could be given some relief. After that guys, see, we also need to train the doctors as a different type of occupational diseases that could be there, workplace hazards that could be there, and how to treat them. So doctor training also is needed. So guys, this is all about this particular article. And if you remember into the overview, I told you that the 4 labor codes are also being are also to be implemented very soon, though date has not come. Into these 4 labor codes also, there is a code on industrial safety and health. One code is there. So in that code also, all these things are to be integrated. So that is all about this particular article. And now guys, we'll move to the next article. Now, so this article taken from the Hindu newspaper, plan for 4G upgrade in the left wing extremist areas. Now guys, basically this article will be important for our GS paper number 3, internal security. Now basically the left wing extremism areas, these are those areas where the Naxalism and such kind of Naxalite insurgency is going on. So there are certain areas which are impacted into the state of Chhattisgarh, they are there. Certain areas are there into the Maharashtra, they are there. Fine, Andhra Pradesh also, there were certain areas which were impacted by the left-wing extremism, but now those areas have been reduced. Certain areas in Odisha are there. So there are large number of areas where the Naxalist activities, left-wing extremism is very much prominent. Now guys, in these areas, it has been provided that we need to provide the fast internet, fast telecom connectivity. See, because guys, these areas are interior, and many times because the internet is not available, connectivity is not there, people are also not able to connect with the mainstream media, and often because they are not connected, because they are not having a lot of awareness, they are being enrobed by these extremists, they are being enrobed by these Naxalite. So here the plan has been brought that the 4G connectivity will be provided into the LWE areas. So just first of all, please read this. So Union Cabinet has approved that a universal service obligation fund project will be carried to upgrade the 2G mobile services to 4G at the LWE areas. Now what is this universal service obligation fund? Universal service obligation fund, because through this USOF only this project will be carried. So this is important for prelims examination, we are going to see. So basically guys, the universal service obligation fund, it is a kind of a pool of funds that is generated through 5% universal service levy that is charged upon the adjusted gross revenue. Adjusted gross revenue. Now, what is this adjusted gross revenue? So, guys, see this particular thing. Right now, see, there are the telecom operators. For example, Airtel is there, Reliance Jio is there. So there are the telecom operators and there are the government. Now, right now, between the telecom operators and between the government, there is the revenue sharing arrangement that is there. It means that whatever revenue these telecom operators will operate, that particular, a part of that particular revenue is to be given to the government as a licensing fees. Now, as per the Supreme Court definition of 2019, in the adjusted gross revenue, even the telecom revenue, non-telecom revenue will be included. Telecom revenue, the money they are making by selling the connections, by recharge and all that thing. Non-telecom revenue, now guys, let's say that Airtel has brought some property. From that property, the rent is coming. So that is the non-telecom revenue. So Supreme Court says in 2019 that both telecom and non-telecom revenue are to be shared. Both the telecom and non-telecom revenue in combined way will make the AGR, adjusted gross revenue, and a part of this AGR is to be given to the government. Now guys, let's say that the AGR, the total revenue that these telecoms collected was 100 crore rupees. Now, out of this 100 crore rupees, 5% is levy that is to be given, which is called as the universal service levy. 5% of the money, basically the money that is being given, 5% charge will be made, that will be made as called as the universal service levy. From this universal service levy, this universal service obligation fund is created, and this universal service obligation fund finances the different projects. This fund, first of all, the money is deposited to the consolidated fund of India, and then after that this particular money can be used for different projects. So basically, when the connectivity is being upgraded from 2G to 4G into the left-wing extremism areas, the money will come from this USOF, that is the Universal Service Obligation Fund, from in which the money comes from the AGR. So this is, guys, all about this article. I hope that you have understood it. So that is all about this particular thing, and with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. So that is all, guys, for today. Thank you so much.